We just had a wonderful panel on stage where poetry rang through the halls. Here we have the famous poetess from Peru, Senna. We have Marquesha Babers from Los Angeles, and Marie Arana, who is going to be translating for Senna and also telling us about the power of poetry and the movement that came from Girls Rising. Welcome to all of you. Bienvenidos a usted. Marie, why don't you start by telling us how you discovered Senna and what came from Girl Rising?
I was shown a number of videos by the team at Girl Rising that was looking for the perfect girl in Latin America. And they focused on Peru, and I'm Peruvian by birth. So, and they had read a book that I had written about my childhood, and they presented me with 36 or more videos. And this child, because she had been so moved by poetry herself, that when she went to explain the tragedies of life, or her own incapacities in life, her poverty, the place where she lived, the extreme circumstances of her life in La Rinconada, Peru, up in the Andes, she would reach for poetry. It was an amazing thing. I knew right away that this was the girl that I wanted to write about. And she has been extraordinary and has written many poems since and inspired many people.
Senna, ¿cómo conociste a César Vallejo?
Ya para morir mi padre me dijo que yo leyera La ruleta de los hambrientos. Y entonces yo le busqué, como no tenía dinero, no podía cómo conseguir eso. Y entonces fui a donde mi compañera para rogarle y decirle, por favor, préstame ese libro. Pero ella burlaba de mí, me decía que no, que qué vas a poder leer, que tú eres una tonta y pobre, no tendrás ni tiempo para leerlos. Pero yo le dije, sí, lo voy a leer, aunque sea para mirarlo, por favor, préstamela. Y me prestó unos días, y entonces yo lo llevé y lo leí el poema La rueda de los hambrientos, y no me gustó, porque era muy triste. No me gustó porque era muy triste, y entonces luego se lo devolví y luego vi en ese mismo libro, porque ya era tiempo de devolvérselo, y entonces yo vi en ese libro Los Heraldos Negros, y entonces lo traté de conseguir y un profesor me vendió unas cuantas páginas. Y ahí lo pude leer, y lo que mi padre me decía, hay golpes en la vida, había lo mismo, y me conmovió mucho el corazón, y desde ese momento yo...
It was my father who introduced me to poetry, and he couldn't read or write and was illiterate, he knew some lines, and he said that I should look up the poem Wheel of the Hungry by César Vallejo, great Peruvian poet. And I asked a schoolmate of mine, because I knew that she had a little pamphlet, and to lend it to me. And she said, "No, because you're too stupid, and you're too, you're blind. You're too incapable of understanding these words." And Senna said, "No, I will find a way." She actually got her hands on one poem, which was the Rueda de los Hambrientes, the Wheel of the Hungry, and that she didn't like it, but she kept looking, and she found finally the Black Heralds, which is the poem that says there are blows so powerful in life, I don't know, and she knew at that moment that she was hooked by poetry and wrote it herself.
The extraordinary thing that's come from this is the net effect of the collegiality, the camaraderie from sharing poetry. Marquesha, you also have been inspired by poetry and have said that poetry has really saved you.
Yes.
Tell us first how you got into poetry, and what the audience doesn't know is that you came out and surprised Senna on stage.
Yes.
So tell us about you, and then we'll talk about that moment.
Okay, well, I don't.
Yeah.
I started writing poetry when I was 9 years old. I went through a traumatic experience in my life that I didn't speak about for 2 years. So in order to keep myself from going insane, I just wrote how I felt down. But I was 9, so I was just writing like thought I was just writing words down about how I felt, because the paper was the only person I could tell. And when I finally got the courage to read to someone, they were like, "You're a really good poet." And I'm like, "Poet? What's..." So from that point on, I started like increasing my ability. Like I just started working harder to boost my ability to write, and from that point on, I just wanted to pursue poetry as a career.
And how about now, the friendship between the two of you, la amistad entre las dos? O sea, trabajando las dos con la inspiración de poesía que tienen en común, the poetry that you have in common. Can you both talk to that? Do you want to start talking to that, and then Senna? You just surprised her on stage.
Right. The poetry we have in common. I think we have a lot. Our poetry is a lot in common. Even though we're like from two different sides of the world, it's a lot in common because our stories are still sort of the same, you know. And I just feel her spirit even from across the world. Off TV, I watch her video and I could just feel it like it just touched me in ways you can't even imagine.
It's extraordinary. You have two young women who have really triumphed over life's challenges through poetry. Quiere compartir, o sea, para mí lo que es interesante es las dos han tenido desafíos increíbles y la poesía ha ayudado a triunfar sobre estos desafíos. Pues, ¿quieres comentar?
Sí, el poema para mí fue muy importante en mi vida cotidiana y entonces a mí mucho me conmueve la poesía, mucho, no solo los heraldos negros, yo conozco a varios autores y varias historias tristes y a veces aún peor que mí, pero yo sé que vamos a poder salir cambiando este mundo. Voy a cambiarlo este mundo.
Y cuando eres niña, eras
Sí.
niña,
Yo
tenía
cuando,
una sueña.
sí, cuando era niña le decía a mi papá, papá, yo voy a ser como Senna, voy a ser una guerrera, voy a ser una reina y me voy a sentar en mi trono. Y voy a decir, este mundo yo cambiaré hoy de la pobreza. Y entonces, pero yo no podía sola. Mi papá se reía y me decía, no vas a poder sola porque eres bien chiquitita, me decía. Y entonces yo le decía, no, soy grande y me ponía una silla más alta. Mira, te gano, papá. Yo soy más grande y voy a poder. Mi corazón es más grande que el tuyo y voy a poder. Pero y ahora me siento muy contenta porque ya no estoy sola. Tengo a Marquesha y también tengo a varias señoras y mujeres que están luchando por cambiar este mundo de la pobreza y de muchos problemas que hay en este país.
When I was a child, I said to my father, I want to change the world. I want to change poverty. I want to correct all of this. I want to change it all. And my father said, you're too little, you won't be able to. And she said, yes, I'm going to be a queen. I'm going to have a throne. I'm going to make all the rules and change all the rules so that everything will go the way it should. And her father made fun of it. And as she grew up, she realized she really didn't have the power, that she wasn't able to change the things that she wanted to change. But with time, with even more time, she learned that she had Marquesha, she had people around the world, she had you, she had me, she had so many people who are allied in this effort to educate girls and change the world.
It's extraordinary. Thank you both for being here. Thank you for your courage, for what you're doing, and for being at Women in the World. Thank you.
No problem.